on CityCast Nashville. Nashville has quite the reputation for being a party town. But did you know it's also home to one of the largest recovery communities in the country? So where do sober Nashvillians go to find community, have fun, and connect without drugs and alcohol being at the center of everything? Casey Hyatt of the Cumberland Heights Foundation joins us to share sober events, recovery resources, and some of the best alcohol-free spaces around town. It's Wednesday, June 17th. I'm Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Nashville is such a bar town. How hard is it truly to find alternatives?
I don't think it's as hard as you might think. I honestly, just based on my experience, especially over the last 10 years, the perception is that the abundance of drinking culture is almost in direct proportion to the sobriety culture in Nashville, especially those who identify as people in long-term recovery. There are a disproportionate amount of resources in Nashville compared to other metropolis areas like ours. So it's kind of interesting that it's worked out that way. I don't know that it's because of Nashville's culture specifically, but maybe the attraction that Nashville has to a lot of people like me, so to speak. So I've watched a lot of people transplant here just because of the abundance of recovery resources in Nashville.
Wow, I did not know that. And you oversee community partnerships to support these sober spaces here in town. So when did you first start to see the need for it here?
I think it's kind of happened naturally over about the last, I'd say 14 years since I started working in the treatment industry here as a counselor and somebody who's in long-term recovery, just kind of looking for those resources on my own and realizing that even though there's small pockets, there isn't a broad version of, hey, if you're sober or you're curious or you're interested in just not having to drink when you go somewhere to have a good time, this is where you find it, you know? And so my vision for the last, especially 8 years, has been to create more and more large pockets and kind of intuitive spaces for people to just drop in and not feel like they have to, categorize themselves in a particular way when they come to do something with us.
Well, let's get into these spaces. So what if you were looking for an open mic night?
So open mic nights started a couple of years ago at Thistle Farms, and we have since partnered with Dark Matter, which is in East Nashville, right off Dickerson Pike, and it's just kind of the perfect space for what we're doing. They're very allied with people who are living kind of our lifestyle, so to speak. And so the next upcoming sober open mic at Dark Matter will be on July 13th. Come on out. We're doing it monthly, every month going forward for hopefully ever. It's become incredibly popular. We're always standing room only. Incredible talent comes in. I think one thing that most people don't know is that there's just an incredible emergence of talent in Nashville who are either newly sober or got sober and are becoming more and more, I guess, platformed people, not necessarily always like recording artists, but, recording is different than it used to be. There's a lot of TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. So we have a lot of poets come, stand-up comedians, instrumentalists, et cetera, et cetera. We have some rappers come. So it's always a really good time. And it's not just for sober people, it's a sober space. And so we don't serve alcohol during those hours, and we do have free Red Bull. So
free Red Bull.
It's kind of like, yeah. So it's open bar, but no alcohol, and we always have kind of a little all recovery meeting afterward. And so we're always getting people visiting in town. But the original vision was, through my work with Cumberland Heights, I work with a lot of artists and musicians who have never played on stage sober, and I wanted to make sure there was a space where they could do that. In the same turn, there's a lot of newly sober people who had a lot of potential artistically and never truly accessed that, and it gives them kind of their first stage, their first medium to start that process.
What about creative writing workshops?
So that was a partnership that we created with The Porch in Berry Hill, which has already had an incredible impact on the creative community. And they started to do more intentional, almost therapeutic groups within some of the treatment centers around Nashville called Writing for Recovery. And so what we did is we expanded that out in a more community facing space. So weekly on Sundays at 5:30 p.m., the Porch in Berry Hill hosts Writing for Recovery. It's free if you need it to be. It's a $10 suggested donation, basically. I've written a lot of poems in that group. We have a professor from Vanderbilt who's in recovery who leads that group, and he's just an incredible talent. And we're also expanding now into a more family centric. So for people who are family members of those affected by addiction, a new partnership with Sophia Center is meeting. We're about to figure out the dates, but we're going to do some painting there and some sculpting and a little bit of nature therapy and things like that there as well.
What's a great place for a sober first date?
That's a really good question. I was actually reading these off to my wife. We were talking about our first date and what we did. But like right now, I think this time of year, I would go for, dinner and a walk, maybe over close to Centennial. Like 51st Street delis are really open when, you don't have to sit and ponder over a menu. You can kind of order what you want. They have a huge drink selection there, and then grab something to go and walk around Centennial. I want to say one of the things that is difficult about early sobriety is learning how to look someone in the eye without having a drink in your hand and having an uncomfortable conversation for the first time. So sometimes facing the same direction is a really good idea. So really anything in Nashville where it's music or entertainment like that. I hope that makes sense, right? Sometimes it can just be awkward. I think we pacify ourselves a lot with alcohol, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I think for a lot of people it's really helpful, but it can also become, I guess, degenerative over time for me and just kind of takes away from my willfulness to be open and honest and vulnerable with another person. And a first sober date is definitely a vulnerable experience.
Oh, absolutely. And I recommend them personally. I think that they're great.
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
way to get
especially the first one, right? You don't want to meet somebody through the wrong lens.
That lens, yeah. Good old coffee date. I think they're pretty great if you enjoy midday.
Yeah.
And say you got someplace to be in an hour. Just set that up.
Well, and if you're dating if you're on a date and they can't stay sober for a few hours, that's also kind of maybe a red light indicator
that's right.
Either they're your person or they're not.
Exactly. But can eating in a restaurant be a challenge for someone who's in recovery?
I think it depends on the restaurant, I can't say that I'm always triggered at a Cracker Barrel, for example, even though they serve beer now. But, if I go to a nice Italian place and it's kind of an expectation that you're going to get wine with your steak, or, we were just eating at kind of a bar food kind of place and we ordered seltzer. I always get a seltzer with lime. And he asked if we wanted more drinks 3 times because he's so used to that. You know what I mean? And I think most waiters in an environment like that are kind of conditioned to make sure that they meet your quote unquote needs, and they don't understand that they could be pushing maybe in a direction that you don't want them to. So sometimes I'm just more intentional about how I kind of prompt, I'll just say, we're not drinking. I won't say, hey, I'm sober, I'm an alcoholic, I've been, I hadn't done this in this many years or whatever. I just say, we're not drinking tonight. And most places have mocktails now too, and my wife especially loves that kind of thing, getting creative with those. Even if they don't make mocktails, she'll create her own.
But in your opinion, do you think NA cocktails are a real solution, or can those be triggering?
I think it goes both ways, right? I think it offers maybe a soft step for those who are used to drinking all the time with their meal or when they're out, kind of a portal into sobriety. But in the same turn, those who do identify as sober, who are actively not drinking, the question is, and it's kind of a cliche, but it's like non-alcoholic beers or non-alcoholic drinks are for non-alcoholics, right? Because it can start kind of this phenomena of craving. I definitely don't do the NA beer for me because I drank alcoholically when I drank beer. But on the other side, I think it's beautiful because it starts to reduce the stigma around what it means to not drink for people. My experience of getting sober in 2008 up to now, it's a very polarizing experience because what happened was if you weren't drinking before, there was a reason. You had to explain yourself. People are asking why, right? What happened? You know what I mean? How many DUIs yet? Whatever, But now it's like some people don't drink and some people don't drink just because they don't drink. You know what I mean? And the stigma is starting to dissipate a little bit more, and people don't ask so many questions or have so many assumptions. It's an individual choice for sure, but I'm glad it's a choice.
Yeah, I've hung out with some 20-year-olds recently and none of them drank. I was very
Oh,
impressed.
the kids
The
are
kids
not
are not
drinking.
drinking.
The kids don't like what they saw. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Yeah, exactly. But they are into
And,
Celsius, those energy drinks,
oh
that'll
my
do
God.
something to your brain too. Oh my gosh, I'll get my heart buzzing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
A whole other
Good Lord.
thing. Summer nights come alive at Andrew Jackson's Hermitage, and you do not want to miss their R&B and gospel night on June 19th. The second concert in their new Roots and Rhythms Americana concert series presented by Wilson Bank and Trust. Enjoy an unforgettable evening of live music, local food and drinks, and community on the historic grounds of the Hermitage. Bring a blanket or a lawn chair and settle in for performances by the McCreary Sisters and Chantel and the Juke Joint Band, hosted by Ernie Allen and Lady Shanti of 99.1 FM The Gospel. The evening will also feature civil rights leader and former NAACP President Ben Jealous, along with a special tribute honoring Nashville soul legend Charles Wigwalker as a 2026 Roots and Rhythms Legacy Award recipient. Doors open at 5 p.m. with music starting at 7. Guests of all ages are welcome and kids 13 and under get in for free. Tickets are just $20 for general admission, $10 for Hermitage members, and VIP tickets are available for $50, which include a private lounge, dedicated bar, and priority seating. The Roots and Rhythms Americana Concert Series wraps up June 26th with one final concert you do not want to miss. So get your tickets today at thehermitage.com. What if you could get the look of new double pane windows, but the performance of triple pane? Well, that's exactly what you get with Illumilite windows exclusively for Window Nation. Illumilite windows feature Triton Advanced triple pane glass designed to boost energy efficiency, reduce outside noise by 15% or more, and let in more light with wider glass and narrower fiberglass reinforced frames. The result? Windows that are easier to open, clearer to see through, and built to keep your home comfortable all year long, backed by a limited lifetime warranty. And you are in luck, because Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 Free sale is going on now. That means you could replace all the windows in your home and get half of them free, plus 0 down payment and no payments or interest for 2 years. Window Nation custom builds your windows, measures 3 times for a precise fit, and can complete installation in as little as 1 day. It's one of the smartest upgrades you can make to your home today. So go ahead, schedule a fast free consultation now at windownation.com. For folks who are in recovery for something other than alcohol, are their needs being overlooked in the boom of all this non-alcoholic and THC beverages?
I can't say for me that I would feel that way coming into recovery, early recovery. I think what's even scarier is the abundance of alternative, suffice it to say, drugs that exist now. I mean, you drive down any road in Nashville and there's Kratom stores, which just went through the banning process, and that ban begins on July 1st. You know, all the different CBD alternatives, basically weed flower that they're spraying chemicals on. And, you know, the canned stuff is at least regulated a lot better, I think. But I think it is dangerous. You know, as an example, probably most of the people that I know that are coming into recovery from addiction to a substance other than alcohol, it's fentanyl, it's prescription benzodiazepines and things like that, speed, methamphetamine. And so many of those quote unquote gas station drugs are perfectly adjacent to that. It almost 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, can drag someone back, maybe not necessarily to their drug of choice, but to the same relationship with drugs. So I think there should be more of a warning indicator on all that kind of stuff anyway, because it's so much more accessible.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Are there any music venues here in Nashville that do a really great job at supporting fans who are in recovery?
You know, it's a really good question. There are And this is just a vibe check kind of thing for me as somebody who's been in recovery for a long time. Like East Side Bowl feels really good. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it feels like it just seems safer to me when I'm there. Maybe it's because there's not a bar in your face everywhere you turn. The Basement East has always been a safe place for me. And I think that's because as soon as I go to the bar and order a Red Bull and I let them know I'm not drinking, there's almost like this second language that comes up. And I'm not saying that a lot of the bartenders are in recovery, but a lot of the bartenders can identify with what I'm doing as a sober person. That's such a big shift from, oh, here's another guy ordering a seltzer water at the bar. And the Ryman's that way too. A lot of those folks working that bar there are, they sync up, they get it.
I will say, though, in Nashville, specifically downtown, those bars know how to
Oh,
get people to drink. Even when I'm, entertaining tourists, friends in town, it's like, no, I'm not going to have anything. But you walk
yeah.
into any of those bars.
It's very much a first one's free mentality because they know once they get you in there and they get you comfortable in your seat, they can keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, like when people who aren't in recovery come to visit Nashville, because I love touring people around town because I've learned so much about the city because I don't get stuck in one bar, right? But when we go down Broadway, we might stop in one spot and it might be like Roberts or something, right? And Roberts is cool about like if I go upstairs in Roberts to get the $5 deal, they'll swap out a Dr. Pepper for a PBR very easily. They get it, But that's about as far as I go with Broadway. I don't get because people are down there sport drinking is what I call it. You know what I mean? It's funny when we did the sober space for New Year's Eve last year. I had an interview with Channel 5 and we did it at the bottom of Broadway. And it was the morning after. It was New Year's Day, and it's just like the streets were just the saddest thing you've ever seen.
Oh.
There's nothing like Broadway at 8 a.m. on the day after like a major holiday or something like that. It's funny to watch.
Oh, gosh. I can only imagine. Well, speaking of these large events and holidays, you also work to provide dedicated sober spaces during our big city celebrations like the 4th of July that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Can you tell us how those are designed?
It's funny because it was very grassroots at first. What we did for a long time was me and a couple others would go downtown. We would basically section off our own little area, especially with the 4th of July. If you get there first and you hold a spot, it's your spot. And so I'd bring a big tarp and a bunch of chairs and a cooler and stuff like that. And I would just send the pin to everybody. And,
Cool.
We might get 100 people, 150 people down there hanging out. And over the years, as they shifted and the 4th of July grew and stuff, a lot of our spaces kind of got taken, so to speak. So I went to the city with it in the hopes that they would want to partner. And so we did. We created sober spaces for not only the 4th of July, but New Year's Eve as well at Bicentennial Park. So our spot this year will be actually the 3rd and 4th of July because they're doing 2 days for the 250th anniversary. And apparently they're blowing the fireworks up again, like even more than ever. But we right at the Gay Street connector, so right where First Avenue and Gay Street meet. So we have full riverfront view. We have our own little area sectioned off, and so we have plenty of space there, plenty of cover. So if you want to come down for the whole day, we have plenty of shade. Coca-Cola sponsors it. Shout out to Coca-Cola. We get unlimited energy drinks and pop waters and that kind of thing.
And that event is free?
Oh yeah, 100% free. Everything's free. So I do need to emphasize that all of our events, unless they're kind of like pretty engaged, like we have some retreats and stuff like that, and some like full weekend stuff where lodging is included, and I subsidize that greatly through my organization. But the main thing is getting people out and getting people active. So no fees. Usually, if we do have something though, it's like $5 or $10 tops.
How can non-sober Nashvillians be supportive of these spaces? Are they welcome as well?
Always. One thing we've always said is, family, people who are interested in it are always welcome. We always have, especially at the big events, the 4th and the New Year's. A lot of times families will come over there just because they know it's a safe area. They know that everybody's sober and everybody's having a good time and they're watching out for each other and they feel safer because you never know what's going to happen, especially as the night rolls on, right? So the first year we did the 4th of July, I had 6,000 people sign up. I want to say at least 2,000 of those people were folks who were visiting from town. They saw the sober space on the website, and they were like, you know what, it's exactly where we should be, because they have little ones, or sometimes they have, one of the people in their group is in recovery and they want to be more amenable to that. So
the Cumberland Heights Foundation sits at the center of the wide network of recovery spaces you talked about here in Middle Tennessee. So can you tell us about the work that you and your team does?
Cumberland Heights Foundation was founded in 1966 in Nashville, and we offer substance use treatment across the board for adolescents, adults, seniors, family members. It is a very, very long established nonprofit that serves this community. And so as a master's level clinician and community organizer, kind of take what they're doing and help extrapolate it out into the community. And so a lot of what we do is free and highly subsidized because Cumberland Heights sees the value of a recovery-centric community and a community based in recovery. And so as that organization continues to grow across Tennessee, we have locations all the way between Memphis and Knoxville. Our alumni community is very, very large, and they help to kind of continue to carry these resources around. And I'm kind of at the pivot for that, trying to make sure that we leverage those resources appropriately for people who are interested in long-term recovery. It's an absolute honor to be able to be a part of what I'm doing. We are one of a kind in what we're doing, and it's really, really cool to see it start to take root across the state in a deeper, more meaningful way.
What are you most proud of recently?
Every event is different, but every event I get to see men and women come together in a unique and meaningful way on their own, whether it's in a creative way at the open mic or a writer's night, or it's at a larger event where we're cooking and everybody's hanging out and we're jumping in the river or whatever the case may be. You get to see people who show up as strangers come together as a community, all in this one beautiful, like, I'm the one that gets to stand back and see it all come together, right? Like, I do all the front end work, and then I just get there and I stand back and let it all happen. And so I'm ultimately proud every time I see a new relationship get built, every time I see a hug, every time I see, people exchanging phone numbers and, making plans for the next thing. And that happened last year 62 times. We had 62 events in Nashville and Middle Tennessee specifically for the recovery community and people interested in starting this process. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. Like, I did my little survey and went through all the numbers, and it's just incredible to think about how broad this thing is. But it's not me, it's the people who are involving themselves in it and volunteering and doing more.
And truly saving lives.
Eventually, if not immediately. Yeah. For every person who's living in addiction that gets clean, the butterfly effect, if you will, from that is so consequential that it's hard to put into words. The families it affects, the families that those families affect, the children those children are a part of their lives with, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, if someone's listening today, how can they access your resources?
If you want to get full access to all of our events and get updates on a regular basis, you can just text JOIN to 205-882-7160. On Facebook, you can follow Nashville Recovery Community, and there's a ton of stuff in there. And on Instagram, we just started a page specifically for this podcast so we can start to build a community there. And it's Recovery Nashville. We just started that, so it might look like there's nobody following it yet because there isn't anyone. So,
all right. Well, right after this episode, I'm going to go follow it, but also we'll include it in today's show notes so listeners at home can follow along as well.
Awesome.
Especially with July 4th coming up. That seems like a really important event for everybody.
It's a big deal.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're on vacation, so for you to join us today.
It helps a lot. And any suggestions you have for other ways to get the word out, I'm more than happy to experiment and see what we can do. Every good connection that I've made has been because, I did something like this and they heard about something else. And so it just grows that way. So,
well, here's to the future and bigger things to come. So thank you for joining us, and to have a great July 4th.
Thank you. Have a great day. Same to you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our CityCast Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!